I wonder if you're being recorded. All right. Again, I'm going to start us off with a quick word of prayer because everything I do behind Purposely Playing Life is ministry.
All right.
Yeah. Heavenly Father, we come to you today, Father. Thank you once again for a day that we have never seen and will never see again. We thank you, Father, just for being a God of all purpose, all-knowing God. I thank you, Father, for connecting men in my life, Father, good brothers, Father, for me to be inspirational for people to others. And I thank you, Lord Jesus, for this day, Lord. We ask you that this story touches someone, touches their heart, enlightens and empowers someone to be a better father, a better man, a better purpose-driven person. Be with us, Lord Jesus, in your name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
So because this is a real show, Daniel may bust up at any time and do something because it is what it is. It's just
That's fine, you know. What's real is real, you know.
What's real is real, and we are authentic, and I have to be authentic with everything I do. So I want to know a little bit about you. Tell the people who you are. You're my brother, but tell people who you are.
My name is Montarius Minor.
I didn't know that was your name for about 10 years.
Yeah, you know me by Bell.
Bell.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm a only child. I live alone. I don't know. I'm a pretty basic person. I stay to myself.
You are quiet. You do have a gift, though. Have you been using your gift?
I have not. You know, recently I sung karaoke and I did so bad I was ashamed of myself.
You?
Yes. It was my first time.
Must have been the wrong song.
Well, it was my first time using a mic.
Oh.
And I didn't know what I was doing, so.
You better start using that gift for God take it away.
I need to. I really do.
You better get in church, get something going. Whatever you gotta do, use that voice. Anyway, that's not what you hear this time. Next time I'm gonna have you singing. Want to know a little bit about what is your connection with autism?
My son is autistic. My junior, Montarius Dewan Minor Jr. I call him MJ for short. He is my only biological child, but I'm actually a father to his older siblings, both of his sisters. I'm their dad too. Yeah.
When did you find out? I'm sorry.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, at first I didn't want to believe it. Yeah. Because up until a certain point, he just seemed like a spoiled little boy to me. Because, you know, he's around all girls other than me. He's mostly girls in the family. And I worked all the time, so they just pretty much babied him and patted him up all the time. But they diagnosed him as autistic. People from not Johns Hopkins, but Le Bonheur.
Okay.
They diagnosed him as autistic. And, I don't know. It was just a dramatic change. Like at one point, he was able to eat chicken off the bone with no teeth. Then all of a sudden, he don't want to eat nothing but dry crunchy food. So it was a drastic change.
That goes through a lot, right? And how old is he again?
He is 4, be 5 in October.
Is he verbal?
When he wants to be. He's like, what happened? What's going on? You know, little stuff. Sometimes he's daddy, mommy, you know.
So
he's stubborn like his dad, so.
You said what? He's stubborn?
He's stubborn like his dad, so he don't really like to talk.
But as far as him being a little different, did you notice anything in your perspective?
Well, I know they said them looking up a lot was part of it. And him wanting to go stand in the corners, play in the corners a lot is part of it. Thankfully, my mom knows something about it. She's dealt with autistic kids. And I have a cousin. She's dealt with autistic kids, you know. So it's people around me that are familiar with the signs. and things to try to keep him from doing so he can be, you know, have normal behavior.
Right.
But we did notice that he wasn't picking up on some things as quick, but initially we just chopped it up to him being spoiled because he was so used to everybody doing everything for him. Yeah. He had two sisters that was waiting on him hand and foot pretty much, and then me and his mama fell in line, you know, just to keep him quiet.
And that's easy to do too as a parent, just because you don't want to see him have any type of meltdown. You don't want to see him have issues on that end. And you are just, especially if you're working parents, and you're young, we're just trying to get home and be calm and have everything cool. And then you have a meltdown that can throw your whole routine off. As far as his meltdowns, how do they look to you?
Frustration. It used to seem like to me, because he doesn't have tantrums as much as he used to, at least not around me anyway. It just seemed like he was frustrated because he couldn't say what he wants you to do, and you just sitting there looking at him like, I don't know what's wrong, so he gets upset. Now, honestly, because I'm an old school parent, initially I was like, what was wrong with you? You know, don't be yelling at me like that, now pop him. Like, you know, get yourself together, you know, your daddy. Don't do
I was like that rulers thinking that was going to make a difference. They look at me like, something's going on with me. What is wrong with you? You know?
Yeah.
But, yeah, that was my thing too. But as a man, I know as a woman, you know, we'll see our son go through something and it's like, okay, we want to baby him. We want to love on him. And as a dad, I know that's still something that you all do too, but you don't want him to be, you know, as my father used to tell me, you don't want nobody to be a little punk. So that's, you don't want to be tough, you want to be a strong man. Do you have those kind of thoughts about him as well? Like you still want him to have that, you know, that balances your love for him versus as a black man, you want him to still be, you know, strong. How do you deal with that discipline and autism?
For me, the most important thing is his safety and his health. So long as I know he's safe first, then after that, he's healthy. The toughness can be built at any point in time. Like while he's a kid, I'm not worried about him being tough. He'll get tougher as he gets older because it's just going to be things that he's exposed to and he's going to be with me. So I'll toughen him up when it's necessary, but I'm not worried about that right now. He's only 4 years old.
I love that. There's so many parents who don't get that grasp that concept. What you just said was gems that you just, I don't even know if you realize the gems that you just put down right there. That you can't toughen a man up from the beginning. That will come through, you know, experience. And saying it as a man, that was powerful. So yeah, that was some gems right there. I know you say I don't have that much to say, but you got a lot to say. But yeah, I'm sorry, Carl. I don't want to.
No, you're good.
No, I want you.
You go ahead.
Because I really want Carl to kind of come in with his part too.
I don't want to stop the conversation. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, but it should be, yeah, everything should be natural.
Yeah.
But no, I really wanted that part because I speak to women all the time. Like it's just, we have our grieving points of autism, but what was your grieving? I know for me, I went through a depression. But how did you have a grieving point as a dad when you found out about his diagnosis?
Honestly, like I said, I'm old school, so I was raised on, you know what I'm saying, real men don't cry type stuff. And I know I've learned since that that's bull crap, but initially that's my approach. You know, I was like, man, I'm all right. It's cool. I'm going to, you know, stay strong for him, you know. Like, it bothered me, honestly. It touched me because it's like, I'm his dad. I'm supposed to protect him, but I'm helpless. There's nothing I can do. Nothing I can do but try to be a good example and try to teach him, you know, little by little what I can of the things that he's supposed to know.
Right.
But at the same time, you know, like you said, being a working parent, it's hard. You be tired. So I just try to spend time with him and give him as much attention as I can when I have him. And, you know, just pray for the best.
And that's really all you can do, especially like you said, when you see them going through the meltdowns and different things. And, at one point I was trying to cuddle Daniel and different stuff, but, even though he is a affectionate autistic child, which is something they say all the time that they're not supposed to be affectionate. He's very affectionate, but at times, like, he doesn't want my touch. And I have to remember, even with myself, I'm someone on the spectrum as well. I don't like people touching me when I'm upset. So it's certain things that I'm realizing as a mom, like, okay, these are things that I am, I see in him. And, if he doesn't like this, then I'm learning myself as well. Like, this is something that that I do, and I understand you better. Like every time that I see him do something, like, I see this or I see that. You're not just an autistic child. You're my son with my same kind of emotions, my same kind of treatment, and I always be good because he is a Taurus. But yeah, it's seeing yourself. Do you see a reflection of you and him?
Oh yeah, like initially I thought he was just being like me. He was being stubborn, mean, because I'm not that big of a people person. So, but like the people that I mess with, I do mess with, Right. But I'm not real big on meeting new people, or I do my own thing. He pretty much acts almost exactly like me, and he just act like me. That's what I thought it was. But come to find out, it was more to it than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a lot like his daddy. Too much sometimes.
You said too much. That's not a bad thing. You're a good guy.
Just to be too clever. Yeah.
I don't have no complaints about my brother, so I don't know what you're talking about. But as far as let me see here. No, you're fine. And just as we all know we're going through a COVID season. We all having issues with COVID. How has anything changed in your daily routine with COVID? I know you look too quiet. I'm nervous.
My daily routine recently, yes, I make sure I keep a mask for one. But other than that, other than keeping the mask and making sure every time I go outside and come back inside, I wash my hands before I do anything. Before I touch my face or eat some food or anything, I make sure I wash my hands to wash the germs from outside off me, But other than that, honestly, for a long time, I didn't see him or my other kids, my girls, because of it, just to be safe, because I've been working the whole time. Yeah. I haven't stopped working, so.
Where you work at?
I work at a Car Star. It's a tire factory.
Oh.
Yeah.
Think it'd be something manual.
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't know.
Has it changed? COVID changed any part of his routine? Can he wear a mask? I know Daniel was not going to wear a mask. He threw his mask at me first time I gave it to him, and that was not a good look for me, y'all. Kind of stupid, right? But
I put a mask on him recently to see how he would react. He kept it on for like a few seconds and took it off. He wasn't he wasn't upset about it, but he just took it off.
Yeah, my son got immediately upset. I handed him the mask and tried to put it. He didn't let me put it on his face. I mean, it was just the whole thing. He acted like Carl. He actually handed it back to me, then took it from me, and then went and put it on a doorknob. Like, okay, you don't need to touch it. Nobody touched this mask. Just don't get mad. I said, act like you. It was the politeness of it. The polite disrespect.
That was unnecessary, Sherry. That was petty.
No, it was the polite disrespect of it all. Petty. COVID season.
As far as COVID goes, I just want to interject this right quick. When COVID first came up last year around November and December and stuff, my son was very sick. They had a flu outbreak at his school that he's going to. Because, he goes to a school because, to help him with his autism, help his development. And a lot of kids, they got sick in the class, and he just stayed sick. So he ended up having the flu and a respiratory infection. at the same time. And he eventually, fast forward in January of this year, he got over both. And it took them, I think, 2 weeks for the respiratory infection to clear up. I was like, dang, ain't that what COVID-19 is, a respiratory infection?
It could have easily been the same gene, same strand or something. Yeah, we knew he was going to bust in. At least he got a phone. But it could have really been that same strand. People, it's been kind of swept under the rug for a minute anyway. For me, this is my opinion. It's been kind of swept under the rug as far as just different strands of this COVID. And I feel like it's something that, Black people have been passing from the last few years. And just right now, because it's just such an overwhelming, population of it, that's what's killing us off even faster. So I'm happy to know that it's actually out and people are actually having to, I guess, not be exposed to it, but it's coming out to where it can't hide anymore. That's what I'm trying to say. Basically, it can't hide anymore. But yeah, it has been a real different season for us. No one here really to help with us other than Carl's mom, thank God. And we both are working. I work from home, but I'm still working. I still have to be, still have to do my job and still do it right, and not have Daniel bust in the room for stuff. And Carl works overnight, so it's not always easy, but the struggle is a blessing. I have to look at it like that. The struggle is a blessing. And as far, I know you said you were, single. As far as how does your other half, I don't know what bring up too many things, but how does she deal with that part of it in your perspective?
What part exactly?
Just the routine, his routine.
Well, okay, so my oldest daughter she just turned 16. She spends majority of the time looking after him.
Oh wow.
And my babies, my kids' mother, she's bipolar. So I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know. I guess it's difficult for her to deal with him sometimes. But I mean, I really don't want to make no excuse for it. But at the same time, I don't want to talk back negatively of her because I don't really like that. I can't control her household. But my older daughter spends most of her time watching him. So, like my baby's mother, she spends time with him, but
yeah, probably as much time as she possibly can with the limitations. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
And as I said before, with me, even with Daniel, I have all kind of teaching training, all this and that, and all that went out the door when I found out about his diagnosis. I mean, I even have people in my life that are mental health experts. My mom, mental health expert, 25, 30 years. And still I went through a depression. Still I went through several things that are just unexplainable as a parent. For a minute, it's just I never went through the phase that I didn't want my child around me, thank God. But I know several moms who did, and just especially after diagnosis, they didn't have the attachment. They feel like, oh goodness, I will never be close to my son because I never had that attachment with him. But just it's a disconnect, especially with a mom, because a mom's first instinct with everything is to hold. That's hilarious. We're trying to get him to sleep for several hours, Bill. Now he's going into the office right now. But it can be difficult. It's the challenge of everything. But I guess the one thing that I've been really hitting on, like a little statement I give myself probably every few weeks, or maybe now every day. I say give myself some grace. Yeah, you can turn it on.
Okay.
Let him sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep.
You look like my son laying down.
But so giving myself some grace, as a mom, as a person. Like it's not easy. I don't care if you have an autistic child one time a day,
Yeah.
2 days after week. It's a challenge. Even when his mom babysits, and she's mentioned today about but she mentioned today about maybe babysitting him a little more throughout the week just to give us a break. But
Yeah.
even with that's a challenge. It's not easy having a child on the spectrum and having their not knowing how to accommodate them from day to day. But it is a blessing to have people in your life to be able to be there for you as support. Um,
Oh yeah.
and as far as your support system, how is your support system through this?
Oh, I mean, honestly, it's great. It's not physical. Like I don't have a physical presence too much, especially not lately because of the pandemic. But even before that, it wasn't a huge physical presence. It's just my mother's been my biggest support by far.
I was gonna ask you that, Mom. Okay.
Yeah, because she tells me certain things to do, like do this. Don't let him go into the corner. That's part of his autism. Don't let him look up. Things just different stuff. And I was like, okay, I just do it. And she's been a huge help. And she was the one to tell me not to get upset when he has his tantrums. Just let him do it. I looked at her kind of side eye, like, really? But okay, you say so. So I listen to her most of the time about what I could do or should do. And like I said, my older cousin, she has worked with autistic children. Like she noticed he was autistic within a minute of seeing him. She's like, yeah, I could tell he's got slight autism. I'm like, wow, how do you know that? But she gives me little tidbits of information too.
And that's a blessing because if you don't imagine if you did not have those people in your life and you were going through that alone. There's so many people that are trying to do that, especially in the Black community. There's so many people who are, I don't want to say, well, yeah, I'm just going to say it, trying to pretend like nothing is wrong there. And then, it's like saying, well, you feel sick, you have a cold, but do I have a cold or the flu? How do I treat it? You don't know how to treat it until you actually get, a diagnosis for it. It's not saying that anything is wrong necessarily, but it's saying how can you make it right? How can you make it better for your child? And I admire you as a Black male because you're not running from it. You're not trying to hide from it. You are, as you said, you are doing the best you can as a father each day to love him and embrace him as who he is, not an autistic child, but your son.
Oh yeah.
I had a question. How, with the diagnosis how did that change the way the daughters looked at him, or did they really understand? Because I know sometimes it's hard to explain to kids exactly what it is to be autistic, because most of the time we don't know. It's like this. That was a hard thing for us to do.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if it actually changed how they saw him. I just think for them, they understood that MJ doesn't do what other little kids do, so we have to pay a little closer attention to him. We have to do a little more for him. But other than that, they treat him. They nice to him. I mean, they better be nice to him because I will give their mama this. Like, she won't let them treat them, at all. And neither would I. But, I mean, for the most part, they treat him like he's a normal little kid. They just know they have to, get something to eat here and there. Yeah. And he's not potty trained either yet, so
they do that. Yeah, that's something we still working on too.
Yeah. My mom gave me some advice of a method to use. Not something I would recommend myself, but I'm gonna try it. She told me just to use the bathroom, take him with me in the bathroom.
Yeah, I don't have a choice because he just runs in the room. There's no
privacy.
Yeah, and just sometimes just uncomfortably close.
If you don't lock that door when if you don't hit the lock, as soon as you hit the door, like it's over. Like it's just.
When I'm in the bathroom at Mama's house, sometimes he'll put his fingers underneath the door, and I'm like, I'm coming out. Like, just give me a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole. Potty training is a whole issue, especially for Daniel is 6, and he just turned 6 in April. But for him, he has, I guess he has a few sensory issues actually sitting on actual potty. So that's a whole nother thing. Like he's actually he's to the point that he can take off his own pull up, put his own clothes on, do all that. But as far as sitting down on a potty and just going or trying to stand up, and that's what I want Carl to try to help him with. Because as a woman, I can't. That's not my thing. I can't.
Right.
I can show you how to sit down, and that's pretty much where I leave you. But but as a man, yeah, that's gonna be something fun for you to challenge with in the restroom.
Yeah, it is. It's gonna be interesting. I'm pretty sure. But his mom said that he would poop. He would sit on the pot and poop his little pot. Yeah, he just she's not a dude, so and I understand that. So you can't show him how to pee.
Yeah, that's a challenge. We can't get them. Yeah, Daniel right now he's not. I think he just enjoys having someone do it for him.
And that's what I think.
Yeah,
that's what I think too. They know that they have someone that's gonna do it. Yeah, all you have to do is make up enough noise or just sit there, and it's gonna happen.
And I'm learning. I think November time of last year is when I really started to realize this is my statement right here. And I said I wasn't gonna use any cuss words, but anyway, is it autism or is it asshole? Now that's my thing right there. No, I told him that myself. Remember that day that we went off? I told him at the park. That was me.
So different.
Yeah,
that she stole it from you?
Yeah, always, because when I went off on him at that park that day, I said, "You gonna stop being an a-hole."
And I said it before.
It didn't count before that. It didn't count before that.
You know how I be coming up with stuff, man.
Yeah, I do remember that. I do remember that. But that's a very valid point. That's a very valid point because usually I have to whoop him at least once every time I get him. At least once. Just because his attitude would be so bad for no reason sometimes, or at least it seems like for no reason, but he just would be real stubborn.
And I'm learning that too, like I said, are you sensory seeking? Because their bodies go through a lot. I'm learning, as I learn, stuff goes on in Daniel's body that I can't process mentally. I mean, but to see it, the only way I can explain it is the Superman, because I'm a nerd and Carl is maybe even more so of a nerd. But the Superman part when he first got his powers and he was just able to stop looking at me like that. Stop.
No, I'm just.
When he first got his powers and everything was coming at Superman all at one time, and it was hard for him to do anything. And that's how I think about autism, because even though I believe autism is a superpower to me, because they're able to do other things to where somebody else couldn't. Just like it's just so different to think about their bodies and their minds and how they think about them. To me, I just get into a mode with that, because I see people all the time judge autism like, oh, well, your son is this or that, but you don't know what his limitations are, or his powers are to me. So.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest fears, because I'm not, like I said, I'm not a big people person. I don't deal with social interactions correctly a lot of times. And I'm fearful of someone calling my son slow to my face or calling him retarded or something like that. I'm not sure how I will handle it.
Those words they get into my heart. Like those are words. Yeah. I'm kind of embracing myself for the moment that someone does say that about him. And just to make sure that I don't overreact, because you always get overreaction of a Black woman, and I don't want that type of reaction, but I do want to make sure if that's ever an issue that I respond appropriately to the conversation. But that is one of my things, because again, people always say, well, I know this autistic child. Yeah, that's good, but that's not my son. autistic person, I think about this the same as every Black person. You have, one Black person that's good. You don't know all Black people. It's just like autism. You know one autistic person, you just know one autistic person. Every autistic person is on the spectrum. Like I said, I'm on the spectrum. And I've just recently learned that. I feel like most of us who have children on the spectrum are a little bit on the spectrum ourselves. We just don't, how much you want to go there is this up to you. But I already know. Like I know I'm on the spectrum in various ways, but I'm okay with that. I've come to peace with it. It's good.
I figure, hell, I must be a little autistic. I was autistic. I mean, dang, he ain't just like me though. Like I must be autistic too.
And you know what? I'm okay with that, Bill, because autistic children they are the most intelligent children. Most of them are gifted or have gifts. I'm okay with that. You want to put me in that category, you go straight ahead. I'm okay with that.
Like my son, he loves music. Like he
I wonder where he got that from.
Yeah, he loves to sing, like drums. He can play the drums. And, like anything with a song, he'll remember it. He even be trying to sing a little bit sometimes.
See, that means you have to start using your voice again. Are you going to put him in any type of music therapy?
It's something I would have to look into. Like, what would you recommend if you had to recommend something?
I have not done music therapy with Daniel. We've done swimming and we've done other types of therapy with him, but music is one that's here. We have like a program called, I think it's like Dynamic something, and it's a really good program. I know now they're doing it on Zoom, but that's one I want to get Daniel in just so he can kind of start hearing music because he's just now, this just year. I love it. I love music. Renee and Andrea. And all that, I just love music. That's one thing I've been wanting to get Daniel into, music and books for like ever. And he's just now getting into songs this year. So I'm just excited.
Okay.
So, I'm hoping to get him into some type of music therapy, which is just, and before COVID, it looked like them actually coming to your home, hearing them actually do a song with them and all that. And the therapy is free if you have for us, it's EMAP funding. I'm not sure what it is in Tennessee, but if you want me to find out more information, I can.
I'm gonna have to research that. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, music therapy.
Well, he's always kind of liked music, but now he's looking at more. Because we used to have him watch a lot of Dr. Seuss. And so he's like those, that Cat in the Hat and stuff like that. And every once in a while, it's so cute to hear him in the back seat, like kind of singing. It's like you don't, because he's nonverbal, but he'll make sounds.
Right.
And, he's obviously saying something because he'll have like a toy or something. He'll be. What was the first time we heard him do a different voice?
Oh yeah, he'll actually do character voice. Like real character voices. It's really hilarious.
But yeah, sometimes he will sing something in the back, and it's just like, okay, it's like, so he does identify with music. I don't know how much of it is an incentive for him.
Yeah,
that would be something.
Because this year is when I've noticed him doing more of the singing part, like intentional singing, and just because he's quiet and stuff for the most part, but when he starts to get into his own mode, I feel like he's gonna be some type of actor or something because he likes to do a lot of. He's different. He's a good different. That's all I can say. I love it. I love learning who he is.
But, yeah, that's part of the challenge, like finding out the things that make him tick. Figuring out, trying to speak his language.
Right. But you said at least he does have some words. You said your son has words, so some words.
Oh.
That is a true blessing. Daniel just started talking for us more this year. And we know he has words and he's stubborn as I don't know what, but he does have some words. But this year he's starting to have words and actually speaking sentences when he wants to. And recently around, was it Father's Day?
For what?
Halloween.
No, it's before that. I gave him start doing that. I don't know when that was.
It was like a week of Father's Day. So he used to me.
Yeah, well, because I started.
I just heard you that day.
Yeah, because a lot of times if I can get him to say something, it's normally early in the morning when he's feeling up or whatever. We got him to say certain words, which it's funny enough. Him not being in school, he's progressed a lot more with.
Carl is a teacher.
I'm not a teacher.
He is a wonderful
doing his ABCs and him actually wanting to count, him actually wanting to go through the book and do whatever, and matching them. And I just kind of broke it down. I was like, say I, and he did it. I was like, love. Like, yes. I'm like, you. And then he'd be like, hug me. And I'd be like, you know what it is. It's like, say, and then we'll just break it down like that.
Yeah.
And like repetition.
It's like, I was just about to say that. Repetition is extremely important.
Yeah.
Well, my son, he loves race cars, Hot Wheels. That's his thing right now.
Yeah, Daniel was in the car.
They will get along so well.
Yeah, because one of the things I kept saying to him was, on your mark, get set, go, before I pushed the little race car down the track, and eventually he started saying, on your mark, get set, go,
Yeah. You're right about that. Like, it's just having that consistency with them, like you said, find out what makes them tick and find out how you can keep that as a parent to motivate them and inspire them. It's just, that's like the best gift that you can give your child. Like, just treating them like a child, not treating them like an autistic child. That was my problem in the beginning, because I'm like, I'm a teacher. My natural, response as a teacher is just, okay, I gotta fix it. It. There's nothing to fix. You fix yourself so you can be there for them. And that's what I had to realize, that even over the last few years, I'm fixing myself so I can be there for them more. Learning who he really is. It's been an amazing path for me. Figuring out that he has a little bit of me and Carl in him, and just loving both sides, even though, sometimes. Yeah.
But I wanted to touch on something you said about being like an old school parent, and now you're having to adjust to who he is. I know that's a challenge, because old school parenting is like, ain't nothing wrong with that boy. All you gotta do is pray about it and whatever. It's just like, but you still gotta work at it. And they're trying to figure out what makes him tick. Because for us, it was more like, you don't adapt to the child. You make the child adapt to you. Yeah. And that just doesn't work, because, as you said, like, in Daniel, that is like so heartbreaking when he would want something and he can't either point to it or articulate what he wants, and just see them break down, because it's like they have it in their head, but they just can't say it.
Right.
And like, you can't force them to bend to however it is you want. You have to understand who they are and learn what they want and what they're going through. Because if not, you're just setting them up to fail. Because you're going to keep setting these things, not realizing where they are, and they're just going to keep failing, and everybody's going to end up getting frustrated.
Yeah. I've had to rethink my parenting methods as far as all my kids go. Because one thing I say a lot is that I was raised for a world that doesn't exist, and if I raise them the way I was raised, I'll be doing them an injustice, a huge injustice. So I've had to pay attention to the way things are, and the way they are, and try to adjust on the fly. Like, I was raised on, you do what you told, don't ask no questions. Who you think you're talking to? Right. It's rule with the iron fist, but we can't do that today. No. We just can't. We have to be more receptive to how they feel and understanding their emotions, and understand that they're people, treat them like they're people as well as us. And then we really got to, use more love than discipline at the same time as trying to correct them. So it's a little more tricky, but you know, it's possible. You know?
Yeah, like you said, it's really difficult to figure out. Like, okay, like you said, is it this you being this or this, and just the discipline part alone it's been an up and down road for me as a mom. Even now, I'm like, okay, certain things I still have to call Carl and look, Carl, you deal with this, but it is a blessing to know, okay, let me take a break from what you're doing and come back and look at this a different way. Disciplinary, because my mom would have been, my mom and dad, I had great parents, great parents. But I think about, like you said, how they would have looked at Daniel probably would have been a whole different thing. They would have, it would have been different. Me trying to raise him the way they raised me would not be beneficial for him.
Yeah.
But I think every good parent is able to be there in a way that their child needs, not in a way that they think their child should be raised. So.
Yeah, I just I try to nourish the bond that we have, because I know at some point it's gonna fade, or at least it's gonna change. I'm gonna say fade, it's gonna change, and he's not gonna want to be around me as much. But as of right now, I feel like I'm his best friend, and I love that, because whenever I have him, I spend most of my time around him, and I make sure I keep all my room doors open and stuff, so he can come in my room and he'll grab me by my finger and pull me into his room with him, or pull me down there so I can watch his tablet with him on the floor.
Yep, that's your car.
Just the pulling. I'm just like, stop pulling on me.
And it's so strong. Why is it so strong? But it was.
I don't know. And that's what I think. Like, man, I be feeling my son's back. Like, man, it ain't nothing but a big muscle right here. What in the world? And he's so little. Like, how you so strong?
Just gonna get stronger. I suggest you start lifting weights now. I suggest you start. Man. Then you rolled me out the bed the other day. I just said me.
So he rolled you out the bed.
He rolled me out the bed. Like, I'm just like, okay, yes, he is super strong.
He took a chair from the living room to the bedroom and put it up on the bed. I was like, when and how did you do this?
Wow.
But yeah, like I said, they are creative. They will figure out things in a way to where you're like, how did you even think about? He did some creative. He wanted to get, and he is determined.
Yes.
He is very stubborn. He is determined. There was something on his chest before and he's really tall. He comes up comes up about my stomach.
Mm.
It's.
Maybe the picture ain't him. Yes.
Cancer glare.
No, that's a bad glare. I still right line him.
Yeah.
I see it a little bit.
Okay, yeah, probably. But no, it's like, so he used the little seat that we put on the toilet, because like a little ladder and a seat for potty training. Mm-hmm. He set that against the chest and opened up the seat part and used that as a ladder so he could stand on it and get the thing off the top of the chest. And I was like, how did you even figure that out? It was like, what went through your mind to be like, this can work?
No worries.
Yeah. And I've noticed my son, he I don't know, it's like he's so analytical when it comes to stuff. I see him, instead of just playing with the drums, he got his face all up on the drum, like looking at it at this angle, like,
yes.
like what are you doing? But he,
and it all has to work. It has to look a certain way. They have to make it lined up a certain way. And doggone it, don't let nothing be moved a certain. Don't let that pen just slightly move a different way. That could throw him completely into a meltdown.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's Daniel. Not every autistic child is like that, but for Daniel, if it's not lined up just right, it can definitely send him into something. Send him somewhere else that we don't want to take him. So
have y'all seen the movie The Accountant?
Oh, that's my favorite movie.
Yep. So you know exactly what I'm talking about then.
Yeah. Yeah. And she also likes this show. I don't know if his mom likes it. The Good Doctor.
Yeah, I love
The Good Doctor. I've never.
It's about I don't know if it comes on NBC. I think it's NBC. It's about a autistic doctor and him, you know, being a physician, being in a profession to where
autism is not,
right. He has like the knowledge of it, but he doesn't have like the
social interaction.
Right, the social interaction.
Yeah.
And just I did see some things that I was like, okay, I can see Daniel in it. I can see this. I can see how this is authentic to where, you know, they're honest about stuff and not, and just the way in which he speaks and just processes things. It's like, okay, you know, because for a while, you know, I wasn't really for it. It's like, oh, well, how do we show that they're autistic? Oh, they're really good at math. There's like, there's so much more than just they're good at math. And it's like, there's other things that they can do. I think that that represents it kind of good. It's on Hulu, because I can't remember what network it's really with.
Okay. I think I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
There's several things now. I think with more children being diagnosed in the last, I would say 5 years of having more diagnosis with autism, you're seeing more shows, more things affiliated. I think it's a movie I want to watch with Daniel called Float. And I'm like, I want to definitely watch that with him because it has a lot of autism aspects and just different things that his own father is looking at him different throughout the whole movie and just, you know, how is he going to interact with him. But yeah, it's and you think about things in the Black community. I don't want to talk too much longer because I realize what time it is too. But thinking about things in the Black community, what is the one thing that you want your son to take away as far as other people looking at him, and just how do you want to be the one to empower him? And that's a big question. Sorry.
As far as how other people look at him, I mean.
Well, you can't change how other people look at him, but what would you tell him to empower him?
Man,
I know.
It's difficult right there. Because I would say a whole bunch of different stuff. Don't let nobody tell you what you can't do.
That's the gem right there. Drop it.
I mean, that's about it. Yeah. Don't let nobody tell you what you can't do.
Love that. I think that's like the biggest thing with autism child, because everybody wants to limit their possibilities and put them into their own box. But a child on the spectrum is just what it is, a child on the spectrum. Don't tell me what my child is going to be able to do. Tell me my child is going to be nonverbal, not talking for the rest of his life. Don't limit him, because of your low expectations. But,
and that's something even, I don't know about you, that's something even we had to do. At a certain point, is be like, okay, am I doing this, keeping him from learning how to do it himself?
Yeah.
Like, am I doing it because it's easier for me, or it's because he actually needs me to do it? And it's like, I remember that, we started to be like, I've seen him put on his clothes, like getting off of work, and he's waiting for me, and he wants to drive around. He will quickly grab my hand, grab my jacket, tell me to put it on, zip me up, put my hood on, and be like, he wants to go somewhere. It's like he did this like a few years ago, so it was like when he wants to, he can get himself dressed. It's like, so why am I still doing it for him?
Yeah.
It's like, I just have to make him do it and make him focus on doing it. Because he'll feign, I don't want to do it. It's like, well, do it.
And it's like any child, any typical child.
Yeah, we'll test you to see what they can get away with.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. And I find myself, pretty much being an enabler in so many words, rather than allowing him to do it himself, because I lack patience sometimes. So it's like, especially if you got to get somewhere and you like, come on, do it. And he just sitting there looking at you like, no.
Right.
Like, man, like forget it. I'm going to do it because, you got to get somewhere, right? And you know, it's just like it ends up being a cycle of that same behavior repeated.
Right. Yeah, I'm there with you because that's, and if you don't stop it, if you don't take the time to say, okay, yeah, I'm going to be 5 minutes late and I'm going to make him do it. I'm going to sit down and make him do it. You know, it will just continue to be an ongoing cycle. Even now, like I'm speaking to one of his therapists because I'm trying to get Daniel to sleep in his own room.
Mm-hmm.
I just saved up money and got everything ready for his room bed for him to sleep in here. And I'm still enabling him to be in my bed. So I'm just like, you know what? You
I do that too.
My bed. You fix. You taking over my whole bed. I can't. You know, just can't. But it's taking those steps and saying, okay, at least we're gonna start you off in your room. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that, just so he can have that independence. I don't want him always thinking that I'm here. I'm mommy, but at the same time, I want you to already grow into the independence of mommy is here, but I don't have to be right there. You know, and for everything, you need to do things for yourself. So that's my thing this year is learning that my baby is not always going to be a baby. He's going to be a black man, and he's going to be a prince and a king. My prince, but he's going to be a king, and he's going to need to have that. So, yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask, as far as I mean, you saying this like loving the feeling that he's your best friend or whatever, and showing him love.
Hmm? No, go ahead. I was just saying that's cool.
Oh yeah. I talked to somebody about this yesterday. I don't know if you saw this Instagram video to where it was a father and his son. They was in the kitchen cooking, or he was teaching his son how to cook stuff, and they was dancing and it's having a good time. And it was I can't remember what it was. It was some rapper that was just like, he's like, nah, man, you gonna turn your son into a punk. It's like he's like, your son's gotta be, ready to fight the father. You can't be showing all this. And like I remember getting upset about that. How do you feel about that, or what do you feel like you want to do to dispel that myth of as a father you can't show love to your son like that, and that in order to have a good relationship with your father, it has to be like some kind of conflict?
Well, first I'll say initially when I found out that I was having a son, in my head I just knew I'm gonna end up beating him up one day because he gonna try to get out of line and fight me, And it's just the way I thought at the time. I'd be like, I got something for him when he get big, But since then, right. Since then, you mature, you grow as a person, and you see things differently. And I'm just like, it doesn't have to be that. I could just, I can love him. I can also be nurturing, even though I'm not his mother, just in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And I can also just guide him and then show him something different in my actions, so that it doesn't have to get to that point. He might not always agree with what I say, but he'll know not to come at me in that way as far as challenging my authority to the point of trying to fight me, Because if you plant those seeds of the right direction and understanding, then it won't get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're saying about trying to dispel the myth of basic toxic masculinity is what you're saying.
Right.
It's just, man, just sitting down and talking to them a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to beat them down, demean them, and degrade them to teach them. That's what I'm trying to make sure I get away from with all my kids. If I correct them and I feel like I was too aggressive or my tone was too aggressive or whatever, I just go back later and like, hey, I apologize for that, but this is what I'm trying to say to you. I didn't mean to do that. I make sure I apologize more so they know that it's wrong, that I was wrong. So,
and I think that's cool, because when I think about our group, our little circle that we hung around with, it's like all of us was like, at one point or another, it's like all of us, was staying at, had homes that only had the mom there.
Oh yeah.
So we didn't have you know, that good father figure or whatnot. And you can say I did or didn't or whatever, but that's for a different story.
Right.
But that importance of like think about think about trying to break that cycle. It's like not.
Mm-hmm.
It's like okay, I didn't have this, and some people mistakenly think, oh well, I didn't grow up without a dad, so if I'm not around, it's just like, well, no, if that happened for you, why would you want to push that to the next generation? And I think
Right.
that's cool. The fact that you can, as you say, I think it's a level of maturity to be like, you can go back and apologize because sometimes I'll do that. I'll fuss at Daniel and be like, oh no, I'm sorry, Daniel, that's Daddy's fault. Daddy messed up or
Yeah.
whatever. And sometimes I will go to him and be like, hey, Daddy got a little too upset with you. I'm sorry because he'll do something. I remember he was playing with some water somewhere downstairs, and I just yelled at him and
Mm-hmm.
he just broke down and he was upset, and I was just like, you know what? If I was watching you the way I should have, you never would have been over there. It's like, so I'm sorry because number one, I wasn't keeping an eye on you like I should have. Number two, I shouldn't have spoke to you that way. It's like
Yeah.
you're a child. You're not a grown up. And I think that's cool. And I think, that's the right track to just the little things we got to do.
Yeah. Little things, like to touch on what you were just saying. A lot of black people, man, and I'm not saying this to down black people in no way, shape, form, or fashion. It's just the truth that I've learned from my experiences. A lot of us come from households where, putting someone down, degrading them, and making them feel like crap is a part of being taught.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that. That's why it's so much bipolar, schizophrenia, and so many mental and emotional, illnesses that, are prevalent in black families and black communities because of the way we were raised, not knowing that it was toxic at the time, and we've been passing it down from generation to generation. Eventually, that's got to stop somewhere.
Yeah.
And then the go-to is always, hey man, you need to talk to somebody about that. It's like, oh, that's white folk stuff.
Right.
It's just like,
Hey,
nah.
hey, them white folks know what they talking about sometimes, man.
Yeah. It's like,
You know what I'm saying?
You talking about
Yeah.
all that white folk stuff and Uncle Booker T in the back room eating graham crackers. It's like, ain't nothing wrong with him. It's like, no.
Something's
Right.
not help there. It's you say about mental health, and that's the biggest reason why I'm doing this is to empower. My biggest reason is to empower women, but I start recently thinking about just black men that are going through the same thing, and I'm just like, we all need to be empowered. It's funny when we've all, anybody who has a child, first of all, just first, if you're a single parent, if you're have somebody, parenting is just hard, and then you throw something like a big word on something like autism on top of that. That's huge, and
Right.
that can destroy a normal or typical person, as far as parenting, their mental status. And in the black community, that's something that we just don't talk about. We don't talk about mental health. We don't talk about diagnosal. As a teacher, I would constantly hear parents go in there, ain't nothing wrong with my baby.
Yeah.
And I would, and it was the thing that got me when they told me that Daniel was experiencing some sensory disorder. That was my first word. I don't think nothing's wrong with my baby. That was
Right.
that was came out my mouth. And I had to eat my own words and go back and apologize to the people who diagnosed him much later. And I got a chance to get to hug some of them later on. Funny how you grow, but but got a chance to do that, and just it was huge for me to learn just from the experience that I thought I knew into something that's actually into reality. And, and facing it as a black woman in our community it has been rough, but at least I have someone with me in our journey with me. It's as far as single moms and single dads, I have just a huge respect, because if you don't have that support system, at least you have a mom and people in your life, but it's some that don't have anybody. And I think about them at night. Like that's why I'm doing this. And I'm sorry, I get a little emotional, but that's why I do this, because I never want anyone to feel the way I felt for a minute, and just to have that. But let me stop before I start crying.
I mean, you know, it's hard not to be emotional. We talking about our kids, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I pride myself on being a tough person, but at the, you know, and I've always been raised, you know, like I said, don't cry. You know,
Don't cry.
Oh yeah, I remember a couple of instances when there was some stuff that you should have been crying. I remember driving somewhere one night because something happened and you was just like, oh, I was just like, you got all worried, you just like, oh, I was like, okay, I think you know what I'm talking about. I'm not gonna say it right now.
I think I know. I'm not sure. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, and it's just, I don't know how I was raised. Like, be honest, I was the opposite when I was a kid. I was real sensitive, cried easy and everything. But the older I got, the more I came into my own as a man, and, you know, adolescence and all that. And I don't know, just, you know, toughened up, I guess. But what I was gonna say was, when I found out my son was sick, when he had the flu and the respiratory infection, I cried. I had him when I found out. I was on my way taking him back to his mom's job where I picked him up from, because I felt so helpless. And I'm like, dang, I'm his daddy. I'm supposed to protect him. I can't protect him from that. Ain't nothing I can do. All I'm doing is waiting to see what's gonna happen now. So it touched me. It hurt me, because, you know, I'll never.
Like, that's, when you have a child on the spectrum, when they get sick, it's different from when anybody else gets sick. Daniel didn't have, you know, he wasn't diagnosed with anything like the flu or anything earlier, but earlier this year he did get sick, and he
used to have inner ear infections a lot.
Inner ear infection all the time, but this particular time I'm talking about, he was so sick. He had 102 fever and just, oh man, and just everything, just, you know, the gross stuff that comes with that. But I couldn't do anything, and he couldn't articulate what was wrong with him. All he could do was sit there and just, like you said, look helpless. And I cried. As a woman, you know, that's okay for me to cry. But at how I have been raised, don't cry.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, when I broke down, it was just there was an experience for me. It was just kind of like, oh, okay, you know. And then Carl was at work, so I was like by myself, and just, it was an experience for me just to have that. So as a man, I can only imagine 10 times worse just how you must have felt in, you know, with the flu. So that's huge. And to say you cried, that's powerful.
Oh yeah, man. You know, I've learned since, you know, I've become a grown man that there's nothing wrong with crying. It's worse to hold it in, man. You might as well let them tears roll out, wipe your face, pick yourself up, and keep going.
Right. Hold that crying, then you go somewhere and shoot up somewhere, and it's just like, now which one is being more sensitive? The person who just cry a little, or the dude who can't even manage his emotions enough to where his only outlet is, I gotta make other people hurt.
Yeah.
And the way I looked at it, because I remember I cried when we brought him home. And because I remember we was in the room and I just held him, and I thought about the fact of, like, my dad.
Mm-hmm.
It was like so much stuff with my dad. I wish, and I would just cry because I was just thinking, like, I never want us to be in a position to where I don't want him to be in the same position that I was, to where I'm not around and he has to be like, oh, well, daddy's coming. And then, oh, well, daddy's not going to be here today or whatever. And I was just like, want him to know that no matter what goes on in the world, no matter what happens, I love him and I'm always going to be here for him. And, you know, when I look at crying, it's like, it's about why you're crying and not the fact that you're crying.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about, like, you know, it's okay to just, you know, share the tear. I cried with my dad, you know, eventually when he passed, you know, cried when I found out about my grandma, you know, there's a difference between, I guess, like crying and whining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big difference.
You know, if like something's going on and it's not that big deal, but you keep harping on it, it's like you acting like a little baby right now. Like, you need to chill out. It's like if something actually happens, you know, like the pass of somebody or something, you know, or you're stressed out, then okay, yeah, you know, you got to let that go. But if you just harping on something that you can just easily pick up and move on, then yeah, that's different.
Mm-hmm.
But I think just in the Black community being able to express your emotions at the right time, like that's a difference, like you said, in expressing them at the right time compared to, like you said, just things that you can let go, knowing the difference. And sometimes, like you said, we've been raised to think one way, that crying is wrong and this and this and this, and we have to be the tough generation, and we this and this, and therefore, you know, when our sisters and brothers on the other side of our hand, they see us, they expect us to be some kind of resilient person or thing. We're looked at as something, I don't know, as something instead of being looked at as people. And I think, you know, with us adjusting our emotions and making sure that we are people first, that is the Black community, we know that we're people first, that will I guess give people on the other side of the hand the actual reality that we are people as well. That's been my take for a minute. As far as
yeah, a lot of people don't give themselves the license or the right to feel their feelings, because what they've been taught has them to believe that, you know, there's nothing wrong with them, like both of y'all have said already. And that's just it's toxic. It's like you tearing yourself down, trying to look a certain way, trying to put on the front, basically.
Right.
Yeah, that's always the Black thing. It's like, you know, Black people are used to struggling. Black people are used to doing this, so ain't nothing wrong with a little bit of struggle. It's like, you know, it's like, oh, we're used to this. It's like being used to it doesn't mean that it's okay.
Exactly.
And it's like the more, and you know, people learn more through the generations. And generations coming up are coming to be like, no, this is not okay. This is not good. That all the stuff that's happened, all the stuff we've been through. So, you know, just because that's the way it used to be doesn't mean that's the way it should be.
Right.
And especially with Black men, you know, even unfortunately, we've had the stereotype put on us, and unfortunately have it perpetuated by our own community in some ways, that, you know, they drink that to where it's, you know, Black men have to be tough, and, you know, the whole thug thing. And it's just like not every you know, it's just wiping stuff off. Not every, you know, that's not, first of all, last time I checked, a thug was a criminal. Like, you don't have to be a thug to be tough. Like, you be tough in different ways. And also, as far as women, you know, it's like, oh, that's a strong Black woman. It's like, what they mean is like, oh, she can take
so much.
Right, she can take so much, and it's just like, you know, it's like you can still be strong and seek help for those type of things. You know, that's not a weakness.
Not a weakness. That's a
No.
empowerment.
What makes you strong is being brave enough to see what's in front of you, and call it what it is, and then do something to change it. It's easy to keep doing the same thing over and over again. There's no thought in it. After a while, it's your behavior, so you just doing what you've been doing.
That's the perfect definition of insanity.
Yep, exactly. Yep, insanity is repeating the same thing, expecting a different outcome. Yep. So, I mean, a lot of those Black peoples is insane, you know.
Right. Yeah.
But it's okay. It's okay because we don't know, you know.
But yeah, that's one of the prayers that I do. As you know, I ask for insight for us to see our faults, and then give us the courage to actually change them.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing, changing yourself. You have the toughest battles with yourself. So
that can show right there.
Yeah. And it's especially important when you're being a parent too, because you have the teachings of how you were raised in the back of your head all the time. But then there's the other side of you that says, I've learned this, I've experienced this, and this is different. So you like, do I go with what I've learned and what I understand and experience, or do I go with what's worked?
Yeah.
Supposedly what's worked in the past,
Yeah. To raise these future children, we have to have a future mentality. So that's my thing. It's just, we have to think, whatever you believe in, my thing is Christianity. So I always lean on the word with everything. So that's where I go to is, we can't just go from nothing. You have to go from what's already been done in the past as far as the word, but still moving that towards the future of our children. But I know we have to wrap up because I don't want to be talking all day. Because I know Daniel's going to wake up soon and he's going to be upset and I don't have no food ready.
You got a problem on your hands.
More than a problem. He is truly going to be some type of little accountant in that regard. He's not playing. But I'm so blessed, brother, that you were able to come and just talk just for a few minutes. And I'm hoping that our conversation empowers somebody. Just empower. That's always my thing, just to empower and encourage somebody that's a caregiver, mom, dad of autism, especially as a parent. People, we go through a lot, especially being a Black parent. So, and I'm going to send you another thing in a little bit to your message. I just want you to look at something. But in that regard, I'm just excited to have you on my show and as far as Carl as well. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's my pleasure.
No, that was great, man.
Okay. You can end it on your... I like how you do it.
What, am I doing the whole thing? Or?
You doing your thing. And why you do it like this way? This is, always, he says I steal everything from him. Can I see this? Can you all see this?
Mr. Claire.
I know.
Yeah. I can't.
Well, no, because it's backwards anyway.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's a phrase I got from my dad. Don't be so busy.
I did steal that one.
Yeah. Don't be so busy proving your point that you get your purpose. It's like if a lot of times we have a purpose that we're striving for, but something comes up and you're so busy for like, yeah, but my point is, it's like, okay, but is your point keeping you from fulfilling what it is that you need to do? It's like I heard somebody say, how bad do you want to be right?
Right. That makes sense. I like that.
But since she wants to give me she wants me to have my spiel. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Purposely Planned Expressions. A combination of both expressions and purposely planned life. We thank our guest, Belle. Is there any place you have any social media somebody can reach you out?
Facebook mostly. That's about it.
Facebook. What's your Facebook account?
Monterius Minor.
Okay.
Yeah, it's full government name.
Right.
Full government name.
I was like, who is this?
If I was looking for you, I would have never found you.
I wouldn't know.
I know, right?
But I know his face. I think that's Bale. All right.
His mama named my team. That's what we call it. So, but yeah, thank you all for listening, for liking, sharing, subscribing. What's your thing so people can find you?
And everything is hashtag Purposely Planned Life. Purposely Planned Life.
Okay. If you want to reach out to me for any reason, you can hit me up on Instagram and Twitter at Bold Expressions. That is BLD Expressions on Instagram and Twitter. Once again, that is Bold Expressions. BLD Expressions on both Instagram and Twitter. You can hit me up on my Gmail account, ctl6985@gmail.com. Have a good day, good morning, good evening, whenever you listen to this. And as always, don't be so busy proving your point that you forget your purpose.
Okay. Well, thank you.
It was